Hey everybody, this is Erica, the technology nerd likes to film stuff. I just returned from attending Lenovo's Tech World press event. Now first off, I forget how hilly San Francisco is, so from my hotel, I walked way up this crazy street with a 20-pound bag and all my tech gear for filming. And then once I get to the top of the street, I notice that that side has stairs, because I'm just that smart. Best life advice, never skip leg day. Anyhow, once I stopped sweating, the rest of the day went really nicely. The Moto Z and the Moto Z Force were announced, so I want to talk about those, let you know what I think. So first thing I did was pick up the Moto Z, and I loved how it felt. This thing is 5.2 millimeters thin. And of course you have that camera hump that's sticking out there, which is a bit of an eyesore. But honestly, once you grab those Moto Mod stylish plates, it slips right on top and it becomes completely seamless, completely mesh. You can't feel that anymore. So I find myself to not be bothered by that camera hump. It feels like we have a modularity aspect without compromising the build quality. Now the left side is completely clean. Then on the top we have a microphone and a slot that houses the SIM card and also the SD card, which is nice because it's expandable up to 2 terabytes in addition to having the various capacities. On the right hand side we have the smallish buttons, the volume button and also the power button. Then on the bottom we have a fast charging USB-C port, no headphone jack, but Lenovo does include an adapter for that. Then on the front, we have a fingerprint scanner, which does not also work as a home button, but when you touch it, it unlocks the phone and it turns on the display at the same time, so that is a nice feature, although I usually like them on the back. Then on the top, we have the receiver, a flash, and also we have a wide-angle 5-megapixel camera. So on the back, we have our 16 connector pins, and also we have the camera, 1.8 aperture lens, optical image stabilization. The resolution on the Z is 13 megapixels, and it's actually higher on the Force, and we will get into that. Here we have the gold model of the phone. These are made out of aluminum and also stainless steel. I find it awesome that you don't have to purchase the Moto mods. You can use the phone bare and just have the ports showing. These phones feel very well built, but I'm not digging the white face because you can see the sensors right there, and I think it ends up looking kind of tacky. Then I grabbed the Force to take a look at how that was built, and you can see that it looks much thicker. It houses a much bigger battery. It's 3,500 milliamp hours versus the 2,600, pretty small from the Z. It's built with the same materials, although I think this felt to have a bit more plastic on it. So what's different with the Force is that it literally has a shatterproof display. It's got a higher capacity battery, higher powered charger for that battery, more megapixels, 21 versus 13, and it's a Verizon exclusive, so it doesn't look like it's ever going to be released unlocked, which is really a bummer. Laying them down, you get an idea of their respective thicknesses, and you can see that the Z really is much thinner. And I really enjoyed how the Z felt in my hand over the Force, so it definitely feels like the more premium phone, where the Force is the more rugged phone. I grabbed one of the battery packs just to see how thick that the Z would become with one of these thick packs on, and it looks to me that it's about as thick as the Force is with just one of these style plates on. So expanding the battery with one of these battery packs certainly is going to add a lot of weight onto it. Without it, it feels more like a playing card, which some people are going to like, but with a battery, it definitely adds weight, feels more substantial. One other thing that I noticed between the build between the Force and the Z is that the Z has a nice curve to the display, which I think gives it a more premium feel. The Force is left with an obvious lip, and that's going to help protect the display, also gives room for that shatterproof display. But due to whatever they do to laminate that glass, it's not very close to the display like with the Z. You can see that the display really pops, it's really close to that glass. And again, that also makes it feel more premium. So I'm not all that sad that the Force is going to be an exclusive because this is a much prettier phone. Now, of course, after the glitter of seeing these Moto mods be announced on stage, I wanted to know how practical is this, and do they slip off easily? And the answer is yeah, some of them do, because some of them have a little bit of a gap. So on this leather-looking one, you can see that I am sliding my fingernail in between, where there's just a little bit of a gap, it doesn't lay exactly mesh, and then I can easily flip it off. So here you can see how the materials are put together on this leather one, and you can understand how there's a little bit of a gap there. Rest assured they are not all like this. I did grab one of the wood type ones, and there was no gap at all. It laid completely mesh, and because it was completely mesh and seated well on there, those magnets really took hold, and it was very, very strong. I could not flick it off. It was very hard to remove. So I sincerely hope that Lenovo pays attention to this. There's nothing worse than shoddily executed designs. Ahem, cough. LG, ahem, cough. If these style shells are decent in price, this would be a great way, though, to customize your phone and also change the appearance of your phone and protect the back and the camera. So in addition to these style shells, we also have some name-branded battery packs as well as other modules. And the great thing is that these are all hot swappable. There's a modularity aspect here that does not require you to remove the battery to use any of these. This is the very smart way to do this, I think. Now, I don't know how true this is or if Lenovo will follow through, but during the presentation I heard them say that these mods will work for future generations of the phones as well. They certainly don't want this to become obsolete. So I did a little bit of research, and unlike another modular phone released lately, I am optimistic that modules for this phone and future phones from the Z line could become a thing. So instead of insisting on co-developing modules after picking only the best ideas, meaning good luck with getting your module made, Lenovo is providing open architecture and the tools developers need to bring their ideas to life through the Moto Mods developer program that they announced during the event. So essentially, anybody can make a module, and then as long as the certification requirements are correct and Motorola approves that everything's done right, they get a certification logo that they can put on the box. Lenovo are also offering a $1 million incentive/funding to whoever creates the best Moto Mods prototype by March 31st, 2017. So they are really serious about this. So looking at some of the available modules right now, this is the Instachat Projector. It shoots out a 70-inch image, 480p, so it's not really high resolution. It's about 50 lumens in brightness, 1 to 400 contrast ratio. So this isn't the most powerful projector, but it's going to be good enough just to show some of your social media things or whatever's on your display. I find this one to be a bit gimmicky. This wasn't a final product, this is a prototype, because the final product, you actually could pull the little kickstand out so you can change the angle however you would like. All of these modules are very easy to use, though. Essentially, all you have to do is just stick it on the back, and it immediately is recognized, and it brings you through a couple of prompts. You need to accept the permissions, and then just hold down on the power button until the projector light comes on. A mod that I think people are more likely to purchase is the JBL Sound Boost speakers. They can get up to 80 dB. They also add extra battery. It has its own little battery pack inside of it. It will run off of the battery pack, and then once it's dead, it will use the internal battery of the phone. But the nice thing is that you can charge both simultaneously through the charging port on the phone, as long as you're using the adapter that came with the phone. Or you can simply just charge the speaker right through the USB-C port that's on the back of the cover itself. So that's pretty nifty. The most practical mod right now, to me, is the battery pack. That's kind of a no-brainer, especially with the 2,600 mAh battery of the Z. Now looking at the interface of both of these phones, they're both the same. Vanilla-looking Android, very stock, 6.0.1. With both of these having the Snapdragon 820 SoC inside of them, they seem very smooth for my testing so far. I haven't seen any issues, although I'm going to have to get them in-house, of course, to play with them. The interface looks quite saturated with this QHD 5.5-inch Super AMOLED display. Both the Z and the Force have this, though the Z display looks better because of how close the glass is to the display. So continuing to look at some of the interface features, we have very few, very stock, but we do have a color mode. So to make that display look how you want it to, you can have standard or vibrant. I will be interested to get these in-house to look at how they're calibrated. I'm hoping the standard mode is close to sRGB, hoping. I'm happy to see that we still have the Moto app to set up Moto Voice, Actions, Display, and Camera just like before. So here we have me setting up Approach for Moto Display, and you can see when I reach my hand over those sensors, it tells me the time and also the notifications. That's something that we've had on the X before, and I love that. There's also a swipe to shrink mode that has been added to this, So if you swipe from the bottom, it will shrink the display. If you tap, it's going to exit out of it. I noticed that you can't change the size and you can't move it around. Still, that's a cool feature that I appreciate, but otherwise this looks very much like the Moto X did. The last thing to look at is the camera interface, which is the same on both. The only thing is that the Force has a higher megapixel camera, so 21 megapixels instead of 13. They both record 4K video, have optical image stabilization, and also a 1.8 aperture lens. These phones now have a nice manual mode. You can control things like the focus, the white balance, the shutter speed, the ISO, and also exposure compensation. I only had a very short period of time with these phones, so I did not have a chance to take any images, but I will. So this is all that I can say for now. I'm very excited about these products and to test them out. I really want to get these both in-house and do a review on them, so sit tight. And if you have any questions, ask them in the comment section below. So this has been Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed, and have a good night.